I guess I really don't know what Christmas is all about.
I am going to be telling you a scary childhood story. When I was 2 years old, my mom passed away. My dad wasn't in the picture, so I went to go live with my grandparents. My grandparents lived in a super old home that was built in the 1800s. I was a very imaginative child. So when I told my grandparents that I used to see people in the house, they just didn't believe me. There was one lady in particular that I would always see. She would sit at the end of my bed and watch me fall asleep. I wasn't scared of her because I thought she was an actual person. Plus, I was super little, so nothing even crossed my mind. At this point, I was like 4 or 5 years old. I remember her talking to me constantly. She even sang me the song Rockabye Baby to get me to go to bed one night. Every single day when I would get home, I could see her in my window. At that point, I thought she was just waiting for me. She just wanted to be my friend, right? But as I got older, things started to get really weird between me and her. She wasn't this nice lady anymore. Stay tuned for part 2. This is part 2 of the lady in my room who would sing me lullabies to get me to go to bed. No one else in my family could see her. She even told me that she was my mom. I really believed her. If you remember, my mom passed away when I was 2. So, it seemed pretty real that it was my mom. I didn't really remember what my mom's face looked like when she passed away. And this lady, could be my mom. She continued to sing me lullabies every single night when I would go to bed. She would always be waiting for me in the window when I would get home from school. But I figured out pretty quickly it wasn't my mom. My mom was a sweet, kind-hearted person. This spirit was evil. She would get mad at me every single time any of my friends would come over. She told me she could see my future and that I was going to go to hell after I died in a car accident. It scared me so much, but no one believed me. It got to the point where I never even wanted to go in the car because I thought I was going to die. She convinced me I was evil. Stay tuned for part 3. This is part 3 of the lady who used to sing me lullabies to get me to go to bed. This spirit was evil, and she started to convince me that I was evil too. She convinced me that I would go to hell because I was a horrible child, even though I wasn't. She convinced me that every single person in my life hated me. She even started to control my dreams, and I would wake up every single night screaming at the top of my lungs from a night terror, and she would be sitting at the end of my bed. This went on for years. When I turned 9, my grandpa passed away. And because it was a really big house, me and my grandma moved to a different house. And the evil spirit was just gone. I never saw her again. But was she really gone? When I was 15, I went to a psychic. The moment I walked into the room, she could feel a dark energy enter the room. She told me that someone was following me every single step I took. And when she said that, I knew exactly what she was talking about. After that, I went to a medium, and after many sessions with her, the dark presence was finally gone.
This is a Dibbuk. You might recognize it from this video that surfaced in 2018 of Post Malone touching it inside of Zach Bagans' Haunted Museum, and most of us know that didn't end well.
But what is a Dibbuk, and why is it considered the most haunted item in the world? The Dibbuk is a wine box that was purchased in 2001 by an American man at an estate sale in Spain. When the man learned that the item was a family heirloom, he offered to return it to the family, but they insisted that he keep it. The box was purchased by the family's grandmother after the Holocaust had ended, but it sat unopened inside of her sewing room because the grandmother was convinced a Dibbuk was inside of it. Dibbuk is a demon that has the ability to possess different items. When the American man brought the box home, he opened it up, and this is what was inside. Inside the box, there were 2 locks of hair, a single candle holder, 2 pennies from the 1920s, and a small statue with the Hebrew word peace inscribed. Like for part 2. Located in a cemetery in Vermont, there is a grave with a window to peek inside. This grave belonged to a man named Timothy Clark Smith. Timothy had a fear of being buried alive. This may seem like an irrational fear, but it was actually more common than people realize. Timothy patented a design for his own gravesite. Not only did he include a window on his tombstone, he also built a contraption that included a bell. In the case that Timothy woke up underneath the ground, he could pull a string and ring the bell to signal for help. Timothy passed away on Halloween in 1893, and he never needed to use the bell. The window to his grave is still there, although the visibility to see inside of it is very low after the years. But I can't imagine being a gravekeeper, hearing a bell ringing in the middle of the night, knowing that you are the only one there.
This is why you should always keep pictures of your parents. A little girl named Olivia who lived a very quiet life decided to check her homework assignments that were posted online. The teacher posted that they needed to write down their favorite memory with their family as well as bring a photograph. Olivia then writes about how her and her mom play dolls every night in the basement before bed and that she has a lot of fun doing so. She finishes her paragraph and then looks in her dad's drawer for a photograph of mom. She only found pictures of her mom from high school but decided to use it anyway. Olivia goes to bed and wakes up the next morning. Once she arrives at school, the teacher then says, "Let's start presenting our project." Then the teacher called Olivia's name to present. Olivia then begins to read about how her and her mom play dolls every night and then pulls out the photograph. As soon as Olivia pulled out the photograph, her teacher's face goes numb. She then asks Olivia if she can take a closer look at the photograph. She then recognized her mom as one of her previous students. Then the teacher asks, "Where did you get this photo?" Olivia says, "My dad keeps them in his drawer." The teacher, shocked, sits down Olivia and pulls out an old newspaper. The newspaper headline, "Local high school teen murdered, boyfriend gone missing." The teacher then looks at Olivia and says, "Your mom has been dead for 14 years.
If you ever find yourself in this situation, don't do what she did. It all began in 2005 when a group of cave divers wanted to film a documentary in the most dangerous cave in the world. A few hours into their descent, a huge storm erupted, causing the main entrance to the cave to collapse. In order to avoid the huge falling rocks coming from the ceiling, they were forced to swim through an unexplored part of the cave. After diving for over an hour, they came across an island and decided to set up camp until the rescuers could get to them. After 2 days of being trapped in the cave, the cameraman decided to start filming in case they don't make it out of there. At the same time, one of their crew members does something very stupid.
Tunnel, take your pick.
Oh, fuck it. Hello! Please. Is there anybody there? Hello!
If you're ever walking and hear a sound behind you, look up, for it might be the Gashadokuru. The Gashadokuru are skeleton giants who walk around in the middle of the night. If they see a human, they will quietly walk up behind them, bite off their head, and drink their spraying blood. Soldiers that die on the field and people that die of starvation usually do not have their final rites read. In Japanese culture, that means that their soul cannot pass on and they're reborn as a hungry ghost. When the bones of hundreds of those souls gather together, they become the skeleton monster known as Gashadokuru. If you're a fan of monsters, scary stories, and lore, please support this channel. Thank you guys.
Scary things kids say at 14. My 4-year-old son and I were waiting for our food at Panera. While we stood there, he started rubbing my belly and talking to it. I asked him what he was doing. He said he was talking to the baby. I informed him that I was not pregnant and he said, "There is a baby in your belly. I just saw it crawl across the floor and climb into you." What the fuck? Just today, my 4-year-old son told me, "I think we live in a pretend world and someone is playing with us." I asked him what he meant and it got even weirder. Well, it seems like someone does things to us, but we can't see them because we are in this world and they are not. My sister described her imaginary friend saying, "He sits on my bed and waits for his mom. He's not allowed to go home by himself because of his arm." I asked what happened to his arm and she said, "His mom ran him over when he was drawing with chalk. That's why he's always crying, because he doesn't like being dead." I have had multiple miscarriages. My daughter, "I met your babies that died in my dream. They want you to know you're a good mom."
5 disturbing videos that you shouldn't watch at night. This will all be done in one part, so keep up. Number 5. According to this video, in 2008, the bodies of 2 17-year-old kids were found dead. They were making a vlog-style video shortly before their death, and when the police recovered the footage, they were shocked. And here is why.
Oh, my Coke spilled over my lap.
Oh, that's very bro.
I don't know what it was. I can't remember.
Have you ever seen this on? It gives me the shit so badly.
I don't think we should be here. It's like a private road or something.
Be uncomfortable.
No, yes it does. I get to film Molly doing a wee-wee.
I think it's right out.
Is it really?
Yeah, it was right out. I can't bitch with this.
Get back in.
Drive.
What's what? What? What's the matter?
Drive.
Drive. What? What are you doing?
Number 4. This video contains 2 nurses cracking jokes with one another when one of them suddenly records a black figure walking past in the camera. They go to check the footage out, but even to this day, the footage is still unknown.
No mames, pasó algo, te lo juro que pasó algo, ¿eh? ¡Se mueve, se mueve! Vete a la verga.
Number 3. This video is actually a Japanese Kleenex commercial. The commercial was taken off of the air for being too scary. Here's where it gets weird. Everybody featured in this video suddenly passed away from unknown causes. One theory is if you play the video back in reverse, the so-called chosen ones can hear the message. Here's the video.
Fine night tonight. It's going to be a fine day tomorrow.
Kleenex tissue です。
Number 2. This video is titled My Sister. The only thing the description of this video says is she's so silly. This video contains a person wearing women's faces as masks, but the thing is people say that these so-called masks look a little too real. Number 1. This video is the scariest one of them all. This video was the first real exorcism ever performed on camera. The man in this video apparently was acting out in a violent rage and his voice would immediately get really deep. It got so bad that he tried to murder the grandkids and his family said they didn't even recognize him. The demonologists who performed this exorcism are Ed and Lorraine Warren. Those names might sound familiar to you because those are the real people in the Conjuring and Annabelle movies. If you love this stuff, you will love my YouTube channel. Tomorrow I'm staying in one of the most haunted hotels in the entire world and I'm going to be capturing it all for you guys. I'm even going to be going on live so you guys can help me capture things. If you guys want to see that, make sure to click that like and make sure to click that follow button because it's going to get crazy. My YouTube is Austin Bro. Make sure to check it out. I love you guys. Have a great rest of your night. Peace out.
And the exorcism will be the first ever recorded on videotape. A tape that shows Maurice's face changing from this to this as the bishop chanted to cast out the devil. As the video shows, far more was about to change on Theriot's face and its expression. As Bishop McKenna chants, Theriot's skin seems to bubble. A deep crack has opened on his forehead.
Maurice, do you feel anything?